their hands.
Yep.
But for now, it's what NYYRIKKI could do here up against a very staunch Dusty side who have found their way. Actually, will be fully confirmed, I believe, if they win this game.
Yes.
So this match matters for them as well. And of course, they're still contesting teams around them in that bottom half of playoff situation. Matches matter for both sides as we find our way onto the Rift. Just checking, it's Electrocute on the Ari. Good stuff all round. Just, you have to make sure nowadays because, you know, some people decide to build wacky. I hit full tank Ari is actually very good.
You think about TFT?
Nah, I'm thinking about Grasp the Undying,
No.
Warmogs first, Starrick's Gauge, you know.
No, you need, listen, if you want to summon the A-Dog, what you need is Leandri's boots of Ionian.
What's the A-Dog?
Ionian boots. Huh?
What's...
Alex. Nymera.
Why are you calling him A-Dog?
I just felt like it.
What?
Just because, listen, don't break up the bit. You had one job. All right, we're talking about the game now.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm into it. Where are we looking initially, right? What's going to be exciting here?
Like was highlighted on the desk.
Yes.
Realistically, it is the bottom side. However, Viking's actually starting at his blue buff, which says to me that he's likely going to be pathing away from Venza and FGG, which is potentially risky when it doesn't look like too much information was gained on either side. In fact, wards are mirrored on the Raptor camp. So there's no real say. There'll be a little bit of information given now that Venza actually walks in with an overheal shield. So hopefully that gives a little bit of indicator that, you know, he was at the very least hitting a jungle camp before he walked in to the bottom lane here. And because of the leash, this just means, you know, no priority here. Typically anyway, Jinx can take priority into Aphelios in the early stages just because Venza, well I say Venza, Aphelios starts with the Calibrum and the Severum. These guns aren't really made to secure priority. Yeah. Unless you're outranging your opponent, which unfortunately, as a Azatort with the Rockets can match. It might even be outrange. I don't know the very specific numbers there, but we'll see what the Sidra gets to get, you know, done on the bottom side now that he should have priority down there, and what Viking's early game plan exactly is with this path towards the top side, because he is pathing towards effectively a lane which isn't going to have priority and a side which isn't going to have priority either. And actually, Dusty across the board in the earliest stages of this game shouldn't have lane priority anywhere, so that really should give the Sidere on this Lee Sin a lot of freedom to actually make some plays, whether they're aggressive towards lanes or whether they're aggressive directly towards Viking, yet to be seen.
And that's the trick, right? Even if your lanes aren't in a position to be ganked, because when you've got priority, unless you're setting up a dive, which driving on forward actually into this first fight, Venza needs to be a little bit careful. Will dance away, putting out damage as he goes. Abagnale taking the snipe, actually the Ignite's there as well. Will be hit with the heal from Azador, so should be okay. But goodness me, that was a turnaround from Dusty and very close to first blood on both sides. Yeah, and I mean, it feels like you see this so often out of Venza and FGG lanes. You get these very close 2v2s in the early stages of the game. But I think it's NYYRIKKI at the end of the day that end up winning out when you think about what's going to happen now. Because Venza and FGG, they have to catch this wave. If they want a good lane state, they're going to have to try and shove out the wave. Viking's not here on the bottom side to try and make that a very quick shove. And now what's going to end up happening is Abagnale can open out onto the mid lane. He can potentially find something onto Barkland, maybe blow a flash at best. And in fact, could have the Sidere with him to do that. We'll see. Maybe the mid lane wave state allows Barkland to actually back up and get a reset and be in a very safe position. Instead, Abagnale and Azatort, they're going to actually just path directly back down to the bottom side, try and catch that wave, which Venza and FGG do shove out so they can get their reset. But in the next 30 seconds now, that can give them a bit of a window to play with, as FGG and Venza will now have to, on the rebounds potentially, unless a freeze gets held here, deal with that wave. Just sorting out the lane state in the bottom side, as you mentioned. Let's have a little bit of talk about this top lane. Sure. Well, while we're here, while our eyes are being drawn towards it, Sion, Gulbog, some choice words about what this matchup wants to do. Why don't you just have us a little chat through what are we expecting between these two? Because top lane's a lane that we don't really talk about all that much. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lane where, well, actually, Halef gets a pretty nice trade-off on to Patoshka. You effectively, I'm not going to use the word survive. Because Gangplank before first recall typically doesn't have, you know, into a tank matchup like Sion, doesn't always have crazy pressure. Might have to hold this point very soon as the Sidere. He's eyeing up this bottom side, and actually, if you take a look at the minimap, Eero is on his way here. And Viking is pathing actually upwards away from this play. Venza going to be flashing away, so is FGG, and they're going to look to turn a bit of damage around, but NYYRIKKI committing multiple members to get 2 flashes. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's okay for now. If they can actually make a punish of it, that's not too bad. They should have spotted each other out, Viking and Eero, and Viking's actually going to go onto the Raptor camp. They still have vision on the Sidere, but a rotation can come up here as Toshka eating a lot of damage.
Needs to be a little careful. One more
flash
draw.
force.
That's a flash. Nice heal coming on through from those oranges.
Yeah.
No knockup available. The flash will be used in the end. Toshka trading blow for blow. Gets out alive.
Yeah, gets out alive. Alif does miss a couple of minutes of XP for that, but this does mean now that Viking can come up here and punish this lane if Toshka does play, you know, slightly over-eagerly to get some of these trades in. Very curious to see the Grasp of the Undying in this matchup. I think it makes sense, but I don't know. I feel like farming gold off the first strike into Alif, if you were to ask me. Me and Jake always have this discussion when we see Gangplank, especially into these tank matchups. After hold this point, Abagnale not quite going to find the mark with a Hex Flash. And whilst that play is going on mid, FGG, Venza, they're just going to leash Viking on this Dragon. As the wave, it looks like, was shoved in. Abagnale felt comfortable leaving Azator alone underneath that tower. And Dusty will pick up this Dragon for now. But it's nice to see both these teams, in one way or another, on one side of the map or the opposite, try and be proactive in different manners. But yet to yield a very tangible result outside of that Infernal Dragon just picked up by Dusty.
I mean, that's a small tangible result. Of course, we've got Hextrex spawning up after it, so we're likely to have a more passive Dragon. In fact, we will have a more passive Dragon coming in for the Soul this time around, which is going to be a change from our first game where the Infernal Dragon Soul was a big talking point going through. Vikings spot out on the ward, we'll just clear it out, but Bane's retreat and we'll move back in. Backlands there, but so is Deceiver. It's going to be a 4v3 if they go for the dive with Lee Sin in the neighborhood. It looks like they're going to do just that. Venza tanking the first shot of the tower. A lot of damage coming on through initially, though, as Asdor dives back away. FGG burning low will actually fall as well, as Deceiver on the back trying to get onto Viking. Not going to be able to trade blow for blow, but might look to follow up, getting the damage down. But Zinzao looking for the re-engage, has the spot. Backlund and Venza still alive, remember. And I think Lee Sin's binned off more than he could chew. Goes down solo to Viking there.
Yeah.
Good dive from Dusty. They lose one member because there was one more member than they thought there'd be there. So they take down 3.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll just get the replay straight away. Dive comes in. Venza takes an early tower shot and actually tanks an additional one on top of that. Ends up working out, and unfortunately, the Sidere didn't W Azator on the way in, and I think that could have maybe bought the Jinx an extra auto attack of life, and maybe the focus from the Sidere is just trying to go for the tanking target, realistically. Not playing to save Azator, and unfortunately, finds a Sonic Wave that maybe he didn't necessarily think would be turned around onto him by Viking. And that's what Gorbok said, though, in the 1v1 in isolation. That's exactly what happens. Zinzao runs over this matchup 1v1. And we got to see a little bit of it there. As FGG looked like he was maybe looking for something towards the top side. I would kind of like to see Dusty, if nothing else can be had from the bottom side, which granted it probably can be.
Yeah.
I think with the Herald spawning up, they have the opportunity to quickly pick on Patoshka before they can maybe look at a Herald play. But it's not necessarily something that's a necessity to look at. I think Herald, though, is something they will keep their eyes on as a potential prize up here, as Alif has been more than holding his own, trading pretty much blow for blow in this matchup, and doing a very damn good job of it. Venza here, going to catch this wave underneath the tower by himself as FGG was roaming. And I think that is obviously the next big thing to look at, the Herald. But Desidere says, the hell with the Herald. I'm down here for this potential bottom side dive. Eero won't have first move from the mid lane, but Barkland definitely could respond if this gets drawn out. Cleanse is available for Venza, but there's no flash on either bottom lane here for Dusty.
Not sure about this one. They're going to go in. No ultimate available for Leona.
Oh my
They get a massive amount of damage down. Abagnale will fall to the tower. 2v1. The scoreline is on the top side. NYYRIKKI see people go down, but it's going to be Dusty.
Yeah.
Picking up the Herald as well. They get plays on the top side at least.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Azator's going to get at least an additional plate. Plus, if we can get a look at the bottom lane, assuming nothing's happening here in the mid lane, how big is that wave that Venza just missed? Because there was a crashed wave before that, which Venza definitely didn't get to farm.
Yeah.
And now there's this additional wave, which was also not farmed, plus the plates picked up. And I mean, look at the amount of burst damage. That's what I'm very curious about, because it felt like Venza, what does he eat? Chomper's auto?
Where's that?
It's a magic trick. And I mean, look how many chakrams that Venza had available to him. You could see it as fizzle out as he still died. If he was able to get just a couple of wars off, maybe a trade happens, because Abagnale did walk out that one limping.
I mean, Abagnale died, so there was a trade.
Yeah, I mean, he died.
But there could have been a much more effective one if that like second order attack had come through, because, hey, I still don't know where the damage came from.
No.
But if you're, Aphelios can return damage very, very effectively. Abagnale trying to throw down a Zed Blade, looking for FGG, wasn't able to find him this time around as we hit the 10-minute mark in this game. Remember, Rift Herald is in the pocket of Viking, so there is that tool that Dusty can use to invest. You know what I'm going to ask you. Where should it go?
Classic where, well, you know, the normal default answer is, well, you have Aphelios on the bottom side, you got a tank on the top side. You don't care about the top lane. You don't necessarily care about the Ahri lane. However, that mid lane tower has 3 and a bit plates left on it. So it's actually a tower that can very easily drop to a successful Herald charge. And it seems like Dusty and Viking are eyeing up the potential of that. Or maybe just they're trying to shield Barkland as he shoves this one in. The Dragon's up in 30 seconds. They have plenty of choices, really, and they still have a lot of time, over 2 minutes before that Herald is going to drop off. So I'm expecting... Actually, I think the mid lane might be a good start, just to be able to knock it off the map as opposed to the plates. But maybe they just say, okay, default answer, Venza, he's the hyper carry on the Aphelios. We give him the gold.
I mean, it's a decision that is on Viking to make with the rest of his team. And I mean, he could go mid to try and cause some pressure when they go to the second Dragon. Hextech Dragon, having an Infernal and a Hextech early on is going to give them a little bit of an advantage. As Silverflare goes wide, Venza careful dancing away, FGG also missing the anchor, but Viking coming on through, call out on a ward. Backland's going to come in as well. Should be spotted out by the ward. Goes for the Stellar Step, but I think was just inside vision there, so not going to be a surprise to anyone. Dusty make the response to save their marksman, and now moving back towards this mid lane. Eero might be a little overextended here. 2v1, moving up towards the top side. No priority up there, but Viking and Backland not interested in chasing, not interested in asking the question because they've got other places to be. And it's just a slow game of rotations where neither team is really able to get much done in the top side. Patoska, when does this matchup stop being a bit rough?
Well, he's got the Hullbreaker already. It's an iron complete. I mean, look at the state of the tower. There's 1 plate left on it. So Aleph has been doing very clearly a fantastic job.
Yeah, for sure.
Of pressuring that topside tower. I'm not sure, because we haven't had too much of a look here at what's been going on throughout the laning phase. It's one of those things where you'd have to watch the VOD of the top lane from a POV of either one of these players. But yeah, Aleph, another Demolish proc. With the Hullbreaker, that thing's gone. So that's standing gold as far as Aleph is concerned. Whether Patoska's just been having a rough time of it, or whether Aleph's been playing this one exceptionally well from the get-go. Of course, had the option to pick the Scion into the Gangplank matchup, and I'll tell you firsthand, it can be a little bit unfun if you don't necessarily pull out a lead individually in the earliest of stages. And that seems like what is happening here as Patoska will do his best to clear out the wave. You still have a lot of the wave clear available, but as soon as the Demolish proc comes back up, that's all you wait for. You break that tower quite simply. And Viking ran out of time with his Herald, so just going to drop it in the mid lane for the plates. And I mean, honestly, with the Dragon already secured, they could turn this into a rotation to the top side just to make sure that tower's gone by. It looks like Patoska's actually just going to yield it, and Aleph will pick that one up free. They can't stop this Herald from charging either, so that's a lot of gold, which is about to go into the pockets of Dusty across the board. And they can even rotate now towards the bottom side. They've got about 40 seconds to get as many plates off this tower as possible. They can actually guard Azator and Abagnale off of this bottom side roam. And give Venza some plate time here. Yeah, 3 plate immediately stripped off that tower.
Look at the gold lead, it's just ballooned from what it was. And that is all from macro play because no one went down. Of course, we saw Aleph pick up first tower in the top side. Mid lane, it just goes down as well, but it's Backland who secures the money there. 15 seconds on these plates. Don't think Aphelios is going to be able to get any, but look at the gold leads.
Individually.
Just across the board.
I mean, it's only really the bottom lane where there's complete parity. Look at the mid lane, 1.5k. The junglers just under 1,000. Top lane, Gangplank, who has parlay gold, is still 1,000 gold down because, by the looks of the top lane tower, didn't manage to pick up any plates.
It's looking a little bit rough for NYYRIKKI at the moment. Early stages of the game, of course, plenty left, but as we take stock, as you like to do at 14 minutes with those plates having come off, game is firmly in Dusty's control. However, now that laning phase has stopped a little bit, these individual leads change in terms of what that means for the game. What are we expecting moving into the mid-game from Dusty? What would you like to see them do in the next 5 minutes?
I think at the moment, Aleph is such a strong side laner. As long as they give him the opportunity to put down some pressure, I think Dusty can legitimately work off this. If they don't want to do that, and that's fine, because it's, at the end of the day, a Scion who's been weak side, that's fine. If it's not that, play with Fog of War. You have an Ahri, you have a Zinzao, you have a Nautilus. Just play Fog of War.
Yeah.
Just create these massive sort of blots on the enemy team of vision from NYYRIKKI. I mean, even if we could get a toggle on NYYRIKKI's vision in the top side right here, this is all darkness for NYYRIKKI. There is not a single ward here. So even things like this is absolutely terrifying to walk into.
There's just no safety at all on the top side of the map for them. Bot side doesn't look much better. Teleport actually coming through from Silas as a fight. Venza being chased away. Ignite is rolling. On the backside, Aleph looking to defend him, though, but it's 3v1. He's tanky, but is he tanky enough? He's going to stumble out, actually, half health. Remember, he has got that passive. Nice element coming through from Aero, but won't land onto anyone in particular, but they will be able to take Sion down, but he's going to turn and return to the fight as a bit of damage comes in from Decida. Backlund gets a kill as well.
Yeah. Very curious to see how that one started. It seems like it was NYYRIKKI just going for Venza on the bottom lane, just trying to pick him off. Obviously, the teleport comes in from Aleph to come and assist as Viking, I think. Maybe he's just going to go for the counter jungle. Looked like he was going to try and put the Herald down and go for the tower himself. But yeah, it just looks like they're just going for the dive. They have a wave there. Aleph immediately responds, but Venza with the summon spells is able to get out. Hero, however, teleports immediately in response, and the amount of damage that Venza returns with that Inferno moment is actually kind of scary at this moment in the game, to be honest with you, but it's not enough to keep Aleph alive. And on the backside of it all, Backlund, whilst he does pick up Leona, just eats a little bit too much CC, isn't able to really utilize the mobility of the Spirit Rush to keep himself alive, to maybe be a bit more of a nuisance to the NYYRIKKI members there. But I think either way, he'd put himself in a position where he was likely going to die, whether it came at that very moment in time or about 20 seconds after the fact, as a taught. Back on the bottom side, they did pick up that tower and items. We were taking stock before this sequence of play happened. Across the board, first items are pretty much there, except for the poor old supports, as is per usual. Triforce from Patoshka and the stacking of agility cloaks. So I believe this is going to be one of those things where we see like IE into triple agility cloak, and that's the spike that we're going for. FGG
should be able to get away, yeah, anchor thrown, and will be able to wander out, but Dragon spawning up. This would be for Drake if Dusty can secure it. The last fight we saw, though, didn't really go in their favor. So whether that's just a case of that circumstance, of course it was very split up.
Yep.
Or if it's going to be a case of them maybe not necessarily having the spikes and tools that they need, is the question that is going to be answered for us in the next couple of seconds, because you can feel like these two teams want to engage.
Yeah, and the important thing is Venza lost both his summon spells on that bottom side dive,
yes.
So his positioning has to be very, very good. And you can see, look how defensive
they're going in. I don't know how his position is going to look, but nice stun from Abagnale onto 2. FGG's completely out of the fight. Backlund is dead as they're driving on through. Venza untouched for the moment as the turnaround from Dusty could be big. Aphelios is firing. The re-engage from FGG doesn't come through, but Aleph might well look for it. Slow down onto Patoshka, but won't be able to get the knock. Will be able to get the knock up over the wall as Viking goes forward, but he goes down. He beat up Money Chu. Now Venza's overextended. Azator is so excited, picks up the double, looks for another, but it's just going to be the cleanup onto the side. NYYRIKKI turn it around, get themselves the dragon. Couple of misplays from both teams there.
Yeah, I think realistically it's a bit of a mispositioning an error initially from Dusty to get themselves put in a position where they can lose Backlund for free like that. But then it's just an overchase into a choke against Gangplank and Jinx. I can't think of too many champions as a pairing of top and AD where that's actually worse. Maybe if you chuck Aphelios on the other side of an Infernum, but that's about it. As yeah, I mean, it's just a great engage onto FGG, and eventually it just ends up meaning that Backlund eats that Solar Flare into the Everfrost and he can't move. He doesn't even cast Ulma or Flash, dies in the midst of it. And then, again, like we said, it's NYYRIKKI that kind of overchased into this choke. Venza transitions into the red-white guns, and it looks so scary, but then, Dusty, what did NYYRIKKI just do to you? Chased into a choke and kind of funneled themselves in. What do you then do yourselves? You chase into a choke. And it's kind of actually made worse by the Mountain Dragon, because it turns into this kind of...
It's two little chokes.
It's two little chokes into an amazing Ulma from Toshka to ensure that retreat has to occur, and retreat paths are entirely cut off. Massive win for NYYRIKKI though, because it was looking kind of dire in terms of if Dusty didn't chase in there, that's third dragon, and then that's 5 minutes away from having to deal with a Mountain Soul. Very, very scary for NYYRIKKI initially, but they capitalize on the overchase, and now it is going to be Dusty who have the run of play this time off the back end of it. They drop the Herald on the bottom side, and Venza is not quite going to be able to pick up this tower. Patoshka is on duty for wave clip.
Really good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Some gold in his pockets, and Now it's Venza just being protected by Viking and FGG, playing around with vision a little bit, which is what we wanted to see from them before, but taking down that dragon has slowed things up a little bit for NYYRIKKI. And actually, in the past few moments, it's all been about NYYRIKKI. They're the team that's looked like the more effective team fighting, skirmishing comp.
Exactly. And not only that, with the skirmishing, I think if you just take into consideration the scaling one-to-one.
Yes.
Right? If you ask anybody, you know, you might have some very strange thinking people that might say that Aphelios outscales Jinx. I think most people would probably want a 5-item Jinx on their team.
Yeah, for sure.
In most cases, in this meta right now. And Gangplank should have enough value. I feel like a lot of these champions have to, from Dusty, get into his operational ranges, right? At least 3 out of 5, because there's 3 melee champions. Ari has to get close enough where it's a bit of a dance between Ulma and the barrels. And only really Venza can stay out of Gangplank's ranges for a majority of this game. So even with that, you can apply the exact same logic to Jinx just about in this particular instance.
And if your Aphelios is in range of the Gangplank or the Jinx, what's he doing?
Exactly. So things can start to look rough here for Dusty. It's not a case of, you know, they had to snowball a lead. They had to get some kind of very tangible, you know, like we said, lead to ensure that they can secure some kind of late game teamfight win. But to me, NYYRIKKI's comp just scales a lot harder one-to-one into them.
Caught up, the solar flare, the damage coming down, but he's still standing, going for the re-engage. FGG manages to land the CC onto Abagnale. He's going to go back, diving on forward. Good. Viking does the same. Looking okay, but Viking's actually gone pretty low. The damage is there, the snipe comes through, but Viking will go down to Asdor, who's now going to get that reset, but his half health and maybe doesn't feel like committing too heavily. That's a lot of damage coming out of that Gangplank battle, half healthing Venza. He's going to step up trying to get damage down on to the Gangplank. Re-engage comes through from DC. But I don't know about that one, Chief. He's going to go low, cut down by Aleph on the Scion. NYYRIKKI maybe a little bit too eager to get the re-engage going, but will go again under tower. But they might lose Viking. He has to go gone. They're going to lose members. They're not taking down the objective as Dusty just fade back after their tower. Why, Dusty? Why?
It's definitely an overstep. I just don't think it's going to cost them anything, but what it costs them is the opportunity to push their lead.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, like you call out, why Dusty, why? What's the need for this over-aggression underneath this tier 1? Well, I can't think of a reasonable
NYYRIKKI go aggressive, and then Dusty are like, oh, we'll have some of that. Yeah, go in as well. And I mean, at the end, actually, to be fair, it was maybe NYYRIKKI who made... NYYRIKKI were the culprits. Yeah. But Aleph definitely signed up for what they were doing.
Definitely. And let's get a look at this replay. Starts with FGG, I believe, hooking Abagnale, or Abagnale actually going over the wall with Aero here. And the turnaround from Dusty looks kind of good, but then eventually it just feels like there's no real, I don't know, consistent damage onto on a meaningful target. And soon again, it's a pretty big choke, to be fair, this top rush. But that Gangplank Ultimate just stops Viking pretty much dead in his tracks. And look at Patoshke, and I want you to track him for the remainder of this fight. Okay. Because some of the barrels of damage that he puts down, especially underneath the tower, actually, is quite scary. As Azator as well. Look at that, 262 onto some of these champions pre-Infinity Edge. Just consistently getting all these damage, all this damage in to some of these carries when it matters the most. As, Dusty...
Why is anyone there?
Why is anyone here? Yeah, that's a good question. As, at first, NYYRIKKI definitely go a little bit over-eager to try and find somebody underneath the tower. Admittedly, it's definitely their territory. As Dusty, we come out of the replay, it seems like this is their dragon. I don't think.
I think it should be. NYYRIKKI have given it up. They're going to be moving back towards this mid lane as this will set up for Soul Point in 5 minutes' time for Dusty. And when you've got Nautilus and Scion and the Xin Zhao as well to an extent, you've got tools that are going to be hard to break down already. If you give that additional shield and those resistances, how much is that going to help Dusty in team fights?
It's going to give them a noticeable edge. That's definitely for sure. Especially when you think about, Aleph. Eventually there comes a point where Scion doesn't really need to build items that give him health, because obviously Scion, with the Soul Furnace passive, he gets all of that innate HP. He can just start building more stats, and obviously that's a multiplier on the Mountain Dragon itself, and it just starts to feel quite bad to have to deal with. But Azator, already building toward that Lord Dominex, and Patoshka has it in his inventory already with the fact that the barrels also penetrate, I think, 30% ignore, I think, at base. And I think Audio Cube was whole busters on already, so that's the true damage portion of Gangplank's ultimate picked up. Which is definitely going to help cut through additionally a little bit more. Some of the front line that Dusty have available to them, but giving over that dragon, 3.5 minutes now, a little bit more than that for NYYRIKKI to put themselves in a position where they can respond, where they have to be, I think, realistically, in front of the objective. I think if they're not in front of the objective first here, this team fight is going to absolutely suck for them.
Let's talk about Baron buff very quickly, because it's not something that we've particularly mentioned. Both of these team compositions, I like discussing it, because some comps can do, some comps can't. Obviously, Aphelios and Jinx are both very effective at breaking it down. Is there a world where either of these teams could look to sneak a Baron, or does a play have to happen first?
I think it can happen, but it has to be so sneaky. You have to clear out vision, and really, it has to be like, I'm not sure if you saw the clip of T1 the other day when they snuck that Baron in the LCK.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be something like
that level or above.
Yeah, because Gangplank can always check with his ultimate. There's 3 blue wards on the side of NYYRIKKI. So Dusty, the opportunity to do it is always gonna be quite slim. And as for NYYRIKKI, things can always be checked. There's only 1 blue ward, admittedly, but it's still going to be quite hard, I'd have to say, for NYYRIKKI themselves to sneak this away. But they do have a lot of damage, right? Between that Gangplank and between that Jinx, they will cut through that Baron with relative ease if they have the time.
Bad damage to it either.
Yeah, and I think also the other very key thing to pretty much track is Venza's guns, because, yeah, Venza, Chakram, it's how you burst through the Baron, and he's going to actually cycle through the Severum over to the Calibrum, red to green, so now he's got the Sniper, and the Chakram's a very powerful combination when, again, you have to be playing at range in these team fights. If he can somehow hold on to as much ammo as possible for the next 2 minutes, it's a pretty difficult ask.
I was going to say, Venza, don't participate in the game. Go to base.
Don't right-click.
Just go to base, and in a minute and a half, walk to Baron.
I think for this particular game, he has the best combo of guns he could use for the Dragon fight in about a minute and 50 seconds.
And this is the thing, how quickly does Aphelios rotate through guns?
Well, he's already 2/5 of the way through Calibrum, so quite quickly.
Is the case
if he's right-clicking and casting spells, it can...
Is there a world where he wants to rotate all the way through in this time?
No, too many guns, too many guns.
So he can't do that?
So realistically, reasonably...
Yes.
No. I'm not sure what's on the menu next, though. I think it's Purple Gun.
Gravitum.
Yeah, I think it's Gravitum now. It will be Gravitum and then it will be Infernum. So he's trying to cycle through, or the other way around, yeah. So he's trying to cycle through, but now he has to get rid of Chakrams, because Chakram plus Gravitum, it kind of sucks. It's the worst gun combo.
Right.
I'm sorry for those at home who have to sit here and listen to me talk about Aphelios guns. I know it's not exactly the most enthralling commentary in the world, but...
I mean, there'll be Aphelios. There's probably an Aphelios main in chat. A, you're awful. Second off...
Wow, okay.
I don't get it. The chat has too many things going on. Doesn't even
play it. You'd be surprised. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, you've met me. So.
That's true. But hopefully...
What do you mean that's true? Hold up.
Listen, 30 seconds left. I'll have this argument with you later. He's actually trying to hold on to Chakrams. He's trying to cycle through everything. You're right. That is actually what I think he's going for.
Is he going to have enough time, though? Are they going to be able to play for time, though? Because
I mean,
NYYRIKKI are moving into
I think what comes here, though, is Infernum. So maybe he's looking for an Infernum ultimate, and then maybe he can cycle for Infernum again, and then get Severum. It's a big ask, but... it can certainly happen, and...
might be engaged on here as Aero's going forward. Nice use of the Everfrost, but needs to be so careful. Backland flash forward. Aero's so healthy. Looking for the assassination. Will find it.
Solo kill.
NYYRIKKI are now going to make this play 4v5.
Yeah.
And they're moving forward. Nice tech charge, though. Dusty trying to get the engage immediately before Aero gets the Jinx. They managed to get the Jinx before he returns, but now he's looking towards Viking. Won't be able to find him. Venza is free-firing, untouched. Aleph moving up the side. Look at Desidro. Look at Abagnale, though. Dusty are interested in taking down these two members, catching anyone they can, and they will find Leona. She is dead. And just like that, Dusty, they take the pick. They lose the member, but then they dominate the team fight, and who cares what guns he has? Venza is just going to move down and help take out this dragon.
And what amazing second-by-second decision-making from Dusty.
Wait. The bot lane, they went up towards mid lane. Aaron needs to be careful. The Desidro is there as well. It's a 2v4, but okay, Silas. A little bit too over-eager. Now Venza is here, now FGG's here, and now the soul can be secured.
Yeah, and what amazing split-second decision-making from Dusty there. Because they recognize, okay, we're at a numbers disadvantage, but Silas is still in our jungle. If we push forward now onto the 4 as a 4, it's an equal fight. It's equal numbers, and Iro won't be able to actually have any say in this fight. He already cast his ultimate to make sure he could get that solo kill, plus the flash anyway. Only really working with his regular spells. Amazing stuff from FGG and the rest of Dusty to recognize that is the position that they were in, and to immediately try and punish NYYRIKKI for trying to come and save their mid laner. And now Dusty, they're looking for this Baron.
They probably have an idea it's going on. Will catch Aleph in the bush, trying to get some damage down. Dusty gonna peel away. They want to take the fight under Abagnale. They find him. Astor has to flash over the wall. The Leona is forfeit. As Dusty will move forward back to missing the charmer. That could be big and it's gonna be executed immediately. Astor gets the reset, but needs to be careful. Nice re-engage from FGG as they catch on to Silas. Eros goes low, goes golden. As Astor trying to keep the Silas alive, trying to cut off any route for re-engagement, but FGG does not care. Cathedra goes into the fight, will be blown up.
Azator!
He's resetting, he's free-firing, he's getting the damage down. Finally gets towards him, but the zap slow. Patoska in the front line, it's 2v2. Can Astor survive? Goes golden, but Sion's going to come back to life. Looking toward Astor, running for dear life. Don't look back, Azator, just run as Sion does go down. NYYRIKKI win the fight, but Baron isn't taken.
Baron isn't taken. NYYRIKKI, they want their playoff chance. They are not going to go silently into the night with this one. They don't want to just give it over to Dusty. Dusty, they're doing such a good job at these small integral moments, but time and time again, NYYRIKKI just say, no, we are going to come back into each and every single fight. And it just starts off here. Aleph is trying to play bodyguard. Dusty, they make the decision to turn off the Baron. And initially, it's a great one. But it's Barkland that oversteps. He goes for Azator. He sees red. He sees just taking the game off the back of that pick. And unfortunately, that means that he's dropped and it goes back towards a 4v4 Eero. It looks really deep. It does, honestly. But look at the space he's buying for Azator to get all of these auto attacks off. He's finding all of the AoE, and that's all it really takes. The barrel comes in, doesn't really get to find any damage. But again, it's all about Jinx. It's all about buying her the opportunity to find all of these free auto attacks, the resets, and that's the difference maker. The stopwatch is great to ensure that there's no knock-up and no death. And it's scary for a moment. Aleph, I feel like those chompers should have primed. But yeah, don't look back. Azator runs out of that one and should have Infinity. Yeah, 4 items, oh my god. 4 items available for Jinx now. And that's why we're seeing a pump up so much damage. Has the Zeal in the inventory as well, already looking towards 5 items. I mean, we're 32 minutes into the game, it makes sense, but my goodness, lost track of how fed this Jinx really is.
And this is a player, Azator, we always come back to saying, NYYRIKKI haven't had the best split. This guy has had a really good
And it's always on Jinx.
Well, you know,
how does he keep getting away with having Jinx so far into the season? It just feels a bit, it's criminal.
And the champ against Azator.
Yeah.
Come on, Dusty. But Dusty aren't out of this one yet. They've still got control of the Baron area. They're going to start it up. Members are going to come in from NYYRIKKI. But Abagnale is a good distance away. If they want to go in without their Leona, they're going to have to pull the trigger because there's the ultimate coming in from Gangplank. They want to get a bit of damage down as much as they can. Aleph trying to catch people out, can't do so, and Dusty are going to be forced to back away from the Baron. Viking's super low there. Eero on the backline has the depth charge. Nice on it, but he's going to resurrect, remember.
Sentry turrets.
Else get back up. All the sentry turrets, they're not going to do anything, but it looks like NYYRIKKI just need to hold off their advance as they move into the mid lane to try and get this inner tower, which should be free.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but that's also a pretty big resource for Viking to lose. For pretty much nothing, right? Losing the GA in this kind of moment, especially when the Elder Dragon spawns in 2 minutes time, that GA resurrection could actually be kind of key because Viking is playing the front line. He is playing the disruptor here for Dusty. And without that revive, it could be a little bit harder to do that. We'll see whether or not it actually has a real impact or not, but great job again from NYYRIKKI to, you know, effectively stop this Baron from happening. Dusty, though, they have firm control over this area of the map, and thank you, observers. You toggled the vision exactly as I wanted to ask for it, and now they still get the vision. Yeah.
They want to take this fight. They want to be doing what they did last time around, but Dusty are so close to taking down the Baron. What's he looking for? Where's the ult from Azator? He's not going to be able to throw it in time as Baron is secured. Sidra might be a little bit too far forward, gets the flash, but Azator has been hit by the trench line, so he's not going to be involved in any of the fight. Moving forward, needs to be careful. Lee Sin diving out as the slows come through. Dusty, this time around, are the only team to take the kill. It's just Patoska, who might not be the most crucial member, but his wave play is good with the barrels, and now Dusty looking for the reset. This Baron buff is going to overlap with the Elder Dragon.
Yeah, and with the soul in pocket as well. I mean, it just feels so hard for NYYRIKKI, but they've been fighting tooth and nail, right, to make sure that they can give themselves this shot next week, to ensure that they can try and make them a run for playoffs here. I think they still have the tools available, right? They've got the 4am Gangplank. Gangplank should have flashback up. Azator, crucially, will have flashback up. Actually, observers, can we get a toggle on the gold? Because I think Azator should be close. No, he's not going to make it to that 5th iron mark, unfortunately.
How much does he need?
600 more gold if he wants the cheapest available. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's go back to the items because I think that's the important thing to track now. We're at relative parity across the board in the mid lane. The AD carries, that's where the big discrepancy is. The top side of the map, it's about even when you're talking about efficiency. Junglers, there's actually an entire extra item on Viking, 2 items actually. So, you know, Dusty's frontline, incredibly powerful. It's all about Azator again in this late game stage for NYYRIKKI. They have to keep him safe. They have to ensure that there's no broken up fight. They have to try and, to the best of their ability, with a much weaker front line, play front to back so Jinx can actually layer in this damage. And Patoshka, I'm looking at you to try and find some barrel chains to try and provide some space for your Jinx as well. Because right now, Dusty's front line is so tanky, but look at Hero.
NYYRIKKI have bounties right now. They can get big swings, and the game state feels much closer than it maybe is.
Yeah.
So if they can get themselves this Elder Dragon with the bounty as well, big swing. Astor picks up item number 5. That could be curtains for Dusty, but they're already taking the Elder Dragon. It's going really fast. Venza shooting through it as re-engage comes through. NYYRIKKI want to contest. Backlund diving away from the solar flare as Abagnale goes on through. Viking is there. The damage is big as Venza starts ripping through the fight. Desidra trying to kick members away, but it's Dusty running through NYYRIKKI. They had us in the first half, but now Aero having to flash over the wall. Not going to be able to get away too far as FGG follows through, but it really doesn't matter. They're going for the Elder Dragon. They're going for the teleport. They're going to take down the enemy team to the bot lane with the Baron, the Elder buff, the Aphelios. It looked okay for NYYRIKKI, but Dusty looking to make big inroads.
And it looks like it might just be heartbreak for the NYYRIKKI players, for the staff, for the organization here. Patoshka's going to drop. Dusty, they're going to close this one out.
It was so close to making this one work. We saw Astralis do it to JDXL. It looked like it might be the same story, but this time around, it's Dusty who punched their tickets to playoffs, and they can look forward to the last week. NYYRIKKI left wanting.